Welcome to Philosophy Decoded, where we explore timeless wisdom for modern life. Let's decode today's philosophy. You have spent your entire life in a dark cave. You are chained in place, facing a wall, unable to turn your head. Behind you burns a fire, and between you and the fire, people carry objects that cast shadows on the wall. These shadows are all you have seen. You give them names. You study their patterns. You become an expert at predicting how they move. You believe these shadows are reality. Now imagine someone breaks your chains and drags you toward light. Your eyes hurt. Everything is confusing. You are forced outside into sunlight. The pain is unbearable. You want to go back to comfortable darkness. But gradually your eyes adjust. You see trees, rivers, mountains, the sky. You see actual things, not their shadows. You realize everything you thought was real was just a projection. Today we explore one of philosophy's most powerful images. Plato's cave reveals why most people never see true reality and what happens when someone finally escapes. Plato was a student of Socrates. After Socrates was executed, Plato traveled and studied before founding his own school, the Academy. He wrote philosophical dialogues featuring Socrates. The Allegory of the Cave appears in the Republic, his most famous work. The allegory is simple but profound. Imagine prisoners chained in a cave since childhood. They cannot move their heads. All they see is the wall in front of them. Behind them is a fire, and between the fire and prisoners, people carry objects. These objects cast shadows on the wall. The prisoners see only shadows. For them, the shadows are reality. The prisoners develop expertise in shadow watching. They recognize shapes and predict movements. They praise those best at identifying shadows. They create knowledge based entirely on shadows. But they do not realize these are just shadows. One prisoner is freed. Someone breaks his chains and turns him around. At first, he cannot see anything. The firelight hurts his eyes. When his eyes adjust, he sees the actual objects casting shadows. He is confused. These objects look nothing like the shadows. Which is more real? The freed prisoner is dragged outside into sunlight. The pain is worse now. Everything is too bright. He wants to return where everything made sense. But gradually, his eyes adjust. First he sees reflections in water. Then objects themselves. Eventually he can look at the sun, the source of all light. The freed prisoner has a revelation. Everything he thought he knew was wrong. The shadows were not reality. They were projections. The objects in the cave were more real than shadows, but even those were just copies. The sun represents the highest knowledge and truth. What does he do? He returns to free the other prisoners. But when he enters darkness again, his eyes struggle. He stumbles around, unable to see shadows clearly. The other prisoners think he has gone crazy. He tells them the shadows are not real, that there is a world outside. They think he is insane. When he tries to free them, they resist violently. If they could, they would kill him rather than leave their darkness. Plato intended this to work on multiple levels. On one level, it is about education. Most people live in ignorance, accepting appearances without questioning what lies beneath. True education is not adding information but turning the whole person around to face reality instead of shadows. This turning is difficult and painful. On another level, it is about knowledge. Plato believed in a hierarchy of reality. The physical world we perceive is like shadows. It is constantly changing, imperfect, unreliable. Behind the physical world are forms or ideas, perfect and eternal templates of which physical things are imperfect copies. The highest form is the form of the good, represented by the sun. For example, you see many different tables. They are all imperfect and temporary. But they all participate in the perfect form of table, which exists eternally. The same applies to abstract concepts. There are many just actions, but they all participate in the form of justice. To truly understand justice, you must grasp the form itself. This might sound abstract, but Plato was making a practical point. Most people mistake shadows for reality. They focus on physical appearances, temporary pleasures, changing opinions. They never question whether there might be something more fundamental. They are like prisoners who become shadow experts but never realize they are looking at shadows. The prisoners who escape represent philosophers. Philosophers question appearances and seek deeper truth. This process is uncomfortable. It requires leaving comfortable assumptions. It means admitting that much of what you thought you knew is incomplete or wrong. Most people resist this. The Allegory explains why philosophers often struggle to communicate. Once you have seen reality, it is hard to take shadows seriously. But people who have only seen shadows think shadows are what matters. They consider the philosopher impractical, disconnected, useless. They do not realize the philosopher has seen actual reality. Plato was also making a political point. Athens was a democracy where persuasive speakers could sway opinion regardless of truth. Plato saw this as the blind leading the blind. He believed society should be governed by philosopher kings, people who had escaped the cave. The Allegory raises important questions. How much of what you think you know is real versus what you have been conditioned to see? How many of your beliefs are unexamined shadows? What would it mean to escape your cave? Consider modern applications. You spend hours looking at screens. Social media, news, entertainment, all curated. These are representations of reality, not reality itself. They are shadows on a digital wall. The algorithms determining what you see are like the people carrying objects. You see what they want you to see. Or consider how you form beliefs. Most of what you know about distant places, historical events, scientific facts comes secondhand. You have not experienced it directly. You have seen shadows through reports, posts, textbooks. How much is accurate? How much is distorted? You are watching shadows and calling them reality. The cave represents comfortable ignorance. The prisoners had never known anything else. Their shadow world was normal, familiar, safe. Leaving meant pain, confusion, uncertainty. Many people prefer comfortable illusions to uncomfortable truths. Plato recognized not everyone wants to be freed. The prisoners attacked the one who tried to save them. Today, when you challenge deeply held beliefs, people often react with hostility. Their beliefs are familiar and comfortable. You are trying to drag them into painful light. But Plato also believed in the responsibility of those who escape. The freed prisoner could have stayed outside enjoying sunlight. Instead, he returned to help others, even knowing they might attack. Those who gain knowledge have an obligation to share it. The sun represents the form of the good, the highest truth that illuminates everything. Understanding the good allows you to see clearly. Plato believed that once someone truly understood the good, they could not help but pursue it. Evil comes from ignorance. People do wrong because they mistake shadows for reality. What can you take from this today? First, recognize that much of what you think you know might be shadows. Your opinions and beliefs are filtered through your limited perspective, culture, media consumption. You are looking at representations, not reality. This should create humility. Second, seek direct experience when possible. Do not just read about things. Experience them yourself. Talk to people with different perspectives. The more you rely on representations, the more you are watching shadows. Third, question your sources. Who is controlling what you see? What interests do they serve? What are they not showing? Today, algorithms, editors, influencers have this control. Being aware is the first step. Fourth, expect that seeking truth will be uncomfortable. If you are always comfortable in your beliefs, you are probably still in the cave. Growth requires leaving familiar territory. It requires admitting you were wrong. Fifth, have patience with people still in the cave. The freed prisoner struggled when he first saw light. Other people's resistance is not necessarily because they are stupid or malicious. They are where you once were. Sixth, take responsibility for what you see. Once you recognize you have been watching shadows, you cannot pretend otherwise. Once you see deeper truth, you have an obligation to act on it and help others see it. The allegory of the cave is over 2,000 years old, but it remains relevant. Most people live in shadows, accepting appearances without questioning. Technology has changed. The shadows are now digital, more sophisticated, convincing. But they are still shadows. Plato believed the unexamined life is not worth living. The cave represents the unexamined life, accepting whatever shadows appear. The journey out is examination, questioning, seeking truth regardless of discomfort. Most people will stay in the cave. But for those willing to endure painful light, reality awaits. Next time on Philosophy Decoded, we explore Aristotle's answer to finding balance. Not fake balance of doing everything equally, but the genuine golden mean that leads to excellence. We discover why perfect balance is the path to living well. Do not miss it. And that's the wisdom behind it. If this helped you think deeper, subscribe for weekly explorations of philosophy and meaning. Thanks for watching.